In this video, we'll be going over solving quadratics by factoring. Now, we've talked about factoring in class, and if you need a brief review of factoring, I would recommend going to the video entitled Factoring Practice before watching the rest of this video. So we're going to look at quadratics and how we can solve them. So first off, we need to talk about solutions. Okay, so we've talked about solutions in class. In a solution to a quadratic is also called an x-intercept, is also called a zero, and is also called a root. Okay, all four of these words we will use to describe solutions. Okay, so we will need to know each of these words. Okay, they all mean the same thing, but we have to be able to recognize when we're asked for find the solutions, x-intercepts, zeros, or roots. It all means the same thing. Okay, so with an x-intercept, that means that our y equals 0. So let's take an equation. We'll take x squared minus 2x minus 24 equals y. Okay, now if we want to find the solution to this equation, we must set it equal to 0. Okay, now we can solve the equation. Now I'm going to pause for a second and try to have you factor this on your own with the question on Edpuzzle. So hopefully when you factored this, you saw we're going to have x minus 6, x plus 4 equals 0. Okay, so if you notice here, negative 6 and 4, they multiply to make 24. I'll just write this off to the side. Negative 6 times 4 equals negative 24. Negative 6 plus 4 equals negative 2. So that is what we want for our factors. Now, we have something called the zero product property. Okay, now I have a question on Edpuzzle for you to answer before we continue. So, hopefully you answered with 0. If we're trying to multiply two numbers together and we want the answer to be 0, one of those numbers has to be 0. Okay, so if I have 2 times blank equals 0, this number, it has to be 0. If it's 1, we're not going to get 0. If it's 10, we're not going to get 0. This must be 0. The zero product property says when multiplying two numbers, to get 0, one of the factors must be 0. Okay, so let's come over here. Now we have two factors, hence we talk about factoring. We set each of those factors equal to 0, because this one could be 0 or this one could be 0. So x minus 6 equals 0, x plus 4 equals 0. And we now have simple one-step equations. So plus 6, x equals 6, minus 4, x equals negative 4. So we would say that x equals 6 and negative 4. Those are our solutions. Those are our x-intercepts. Those are our zeros. Those are our roots. Okay? They are all the same word. All right, let's look at another example. And we're going to look at this one. It's already factored for us. We'll have x plus 5 times x minus 7 equals y. Now, if we want to find these solutions, we must set it equal to 0. Set equal to 0 to find solutions. Okay, now we can say x plus 5 equals 0, x minus 7 equals 0. by the zero product property. Minus 5 plus 7 plus 7. So x equals negative 5 and 7. Okay? Those are our solutions. Those are our roots. Those are our x-intercepts. Those are our zeros. All of them. Okay? Now, I have a few questions for you to finish up to practice this on your own.